The little girl in the back seat never blinked once during the entire drive. That's the first thing I can't stop thinking about. Not the storm, not the empty highway, not even the fact that the family somehow disappeared from my car without opening the doors. It's the girl's eyes. Because every time I checked the mirror, she was already staring at me, completely still, completely silent, not blinking. This happened last October, during a rainstorm in West Virginia. I was driving alone through mountain roads after visiting a friend in Charleston. The weather got bad fast, one of those storms where rain becomes so heavy you can barely see past your headlights. Most people had already gotten off the roads, but I kept driving because I wanted to reach the motel I booked before midnight. Huge mistake. Around 11:40 p.m., my GPS rerouted me through an older mountain highway because of flooding farther ahead. At first it seemed fine, just empty roads, heavy rain, and forest on both sides. Then I noticed a car pulled over near the tree line with its hazard lights blinking weakly through the rain. Beside it stood a family of 3. Man, woman, little girl. The father was waving both arms trying to stop cars. Except there were no other cars. Just me. Honestly, I almost didn't stop. Something about them felt strange immediately. Not scary, exactly. Just wrong somehow. The father's clothes were soaked completely, but neither the woman nor the child seemed affected by the rain at all. No shivering, no panic. And the little girl was standing perfectly still beside the road, staring directly toward my headlights. Most kids would hide behind their parents during a storm like that. She didn't move at all. Still, I felt bad leaving a family stranded in weather like that, so I pulled over. The father rushed toward my window immediately, and before I could even ask what happened, he said, "Thank God you finally stopped." That line bothered me instantly. Finally. How long had they been standing out there? I asked if they needed a ride to town. The father smiled too quickly and said, "Just until the next road. Not town. Not gas station. Just the next road." The mother and daughter climbed silently into the back seat, while the father sat beside me. And the second they got inside, I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. They were freezing cold. Not normal cold from rain. The kind of cold that instantly changes the temperature of the entire car. I remember adjusting the heater higher immediately. Nobody thanked me. Nobody spoke. The father just kept staring through the windshield while rain hammered the glass. Then, after maybe 2 minutes, he quietly asked, "Have you driven this road before?" I said no, and for the first time, the woman in the back seat spoke. Soft voice, almost whispering. "That's why you stopped." I looked into the mirror instinctively after she said it, and the little girl was already staring directly at me. Not curious, not scared, just staring. No expression at all. I tried making conversation after that because the silence felt unbearable. Asked where they were headed. Nobody answered immediately. Then the father calmly said, "We're trying to get home." Something about the way he said home made me uncomfortable instantly, like it meant something else. The storm outside kept getting worse. Visibility almost gone now. And after another few miles, I noticed something strange. We hadn't passed a single road, not one, even though the father kept quietly saying, "Just a little farther." Then I looked at the gas gauge, and my stomach dropped, because somehow, nearly half my fuel was gone. That made no sense. I'd filled the tank less than an hour earlier. I remember checking the mirror again nervously, and this time, the little girl was smiling at me, wide, too wide. And that's when I realized I had never once seen her blink. The second I noticed the girl smiling in the mirror, I looked away immediately, not because it was scary at first, because it felt deeply unnatural. You know those moments where your brain instantly recognizes something is wrong, before you fully understand why? That's what it felt like. The smile wasn't emotional, it looked practiced, like somebody pretending to understand how humans smile. I tried focusing back on the road, but now every instinct in my body was telling me to get those people out of my car somehow. The problem was, we were still deep in the mountains, with nowhere nearby to stop. Rain slammed against the windshield hard enough to blur the road completely. And the father kept quietly repeating, "Almost there." Same exact tone every time. No emotion, no change. Almost mechanical. That's when I started noticing other things. None of them were wet anymore. When they first got inside, I clearly remember the father's jacket dripping rainwater onto the seat. Now everything looked dry. Completely dry. Even their shoes. I kept trying to explain it logically. Maybe the heater dried them faster than I realized. Maybe stress was making me paranoid. Then the little girl spoke again from the back seat. "You missed the turn." That immediately made my stomach tighten because there hadn't been any turn. Nothing except trees and darkness for miles. I asked what she meant. No answer. Then slowly, the father turned toward me for the first time since entering the car. And I finally got a clear look at his face. Something about it looked wrong. Not monstrous, not supernatural. Just incomplete somehow. Like his expression wasn't matching normal human behavior correctly. Then he quietly asked, "Do you ever pick up strangers often?" That question scared me instantly. Not because of the words. Because of the timing. It felt intentional. Like he already knew I regretted stopping. I lied and said I usually don't. The mother in the back seat suddenly laughed softly after hearing that. Except it didn't sound like laughter. More like somebody imitating it. And the little girl never stopped staring at me through the mirror. Not once. Then something happened that nearly made me crash. My GPS suddenly turned back on for a few seconds. The screen flashed my location briefly. And according to the map, I wasn't on the highway anymore. I was miles inside Forest Service roads, where no official road even existed. Then the GPS shut off again. At first I thought it malfunctioned. But deep down, panic finally started setting in. Because I hadn't taken any turns, no exits, nothing. Then the father calmly said, "You shouldn't look at maps here." That's when I realized something horrifying. He'd been watching the GPS screen the entire time. I started gripping the steering wheel so hard, my hands hurt. Trying not to panic visibly. Trying to think. Then I noticed another problem. No road signs. No lane markers anymore. Just wet black pavement disappearing into forest darkness. And somehow, the storm outside had gone completely silent. No thunder. No rain hitting the roof. Nothing. Almost like the sound itself disappeared. That silence felt worse than anything else. Then the little girl quietly whispered, "He knows now." And all three of them slowly looked at me together. At the exact same time. The moment they all looked at me together, survival instinct finally took over completely. I didn't care about being polite anymore. I just wanted them out of my car. Fast. I told them I needed gas and was stopping at the next station. The father smiled slightly and said, "There aren't any stations here." That sentence hit me hard because I suddenly realized something else. We hadn't passed another vehicle in over an hour. No headlights, no signs of life, nothing. And somehow the road kept going endlessly through the forest. That's when I made the decision to stop anyway. I slowed the car suddenly near what looked like a gravel pull-off area beside the trees. The reaction inside the car was immediate. The little girl started crying. Not normal crying. No tears. No emotion. Just loud repeating sounds, almost like she learned what crying should sound like. Then the mother grabbed the back of my seat hard enough to shake it and said, "Don't stop here." That was the first real emotion any of them showed. Fear. Actual fear, and honestly, that terrified me more than anything else. Because whatever scared them was apparently outside the car. I remember freezing for a second. Then the father slowly turned toward me again and quietly said, "If you stop here, they'll see you too." I asked who. Nobody answered. Then suddenly, something moved between the trees beside the road. Tall shape, fast, keeping pace with the car. My headlights only caught glimpses of it through rain and darkness, but it looked unnaturally thin. Wrong proportions. Too tall. The little girl immediately stopped fake crying and began smiling again. Then she whispered, "They found us." And suddenly, the father sounded genuinely nervous for the first time. "Keep driving." I hit the accelerator immediately. Not because I trusted them. Because something outside the car felt even worse. Then came the smell. Wet earth, mixed with something rotten, filling the inside of the vehicle. And slowly, the windows started fogging from the inside. Not outside. Inside. The mother quietly whispered something I couldn't understand. And when I looked into the rearview mirror again, the little girl was no longer sitting normally. She was kneeling backward on the seat, staring out the rear window into darkness, smiling, watching something following us through the woods. At this point, I knew one thing for certain. I was no longer on a normal road. The highway should have connected back to the interstate nearly 40 minutes earlier. Instead, the forest only became darker, denser, and every few miles I'd see shapes moving beside the trees, matching the speed of my car. Never fully visible. Always just outside the headlights. The family had gone completely silent again. Except the father. He kept looking behind us nervously now, like he was afraid of whatever was outside. That's when I realized something disturbing. They weren't trying to hurt me immediately. They were trying to use my car to escape something else. Then the little girl suddenly pointed ahead, and I saw lights through the rain. Gas station. Tiny isolated place in the middle of nowhere. Relief hit me instantly. I pulled in fast, but the second the car stopped, the entire family panicked. The mother grabbed the girl. The father looked genuinely terrified for the first time all night. Then he said, "Don't let them open the door." That sentence made no sense until I looked toward the gas station building. People were standing inside watching us. 5 or 6 of them. Completely motionless behind the glass windows. Not moving. Not reacting. Just staring. Then slowly, one of them lifted a hand and pointed toward my car. And every single person inside the station turned their heads toward me at the exact same time. The father whispered, "Drive." I've never accelerated faster in my life. The second we left the gas station behind, all the figures inside disappeared from the windows simultaneously, almost like the building had gone empty instantly. And that's when I heard the little girl laughing quietly behind me. About 20 minutes later, the storm suddenly stopped. Completely. No gradual slowdown, just silence. And ahead of me, I finally saw normal highway lights again. Real road signs. Traffic. Civilization. I nearly cried from relief. The father leaned closer slightly and quietly said, "You can stop now." I pulled over near a roadside diner with lights on. The second the car stopped, I unlocked the doors immediately. And for the first time all night, nobody moved. The family just sat there silently. Then the little girl finally blinked. Once, slowly, and smiled at me again. The father thanked me softly. Then all 3 stepped out into the rain. I watched them walk away, toward darkness beside the diner parking lot. And after maybe 10 seconds, they were gone. Not hidden. Gone. No movement, anywhere. I jumped out of the car, immediately searching around the lot. Nothing. No footprints. No people. Then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The back seats were completely dry. No water. No mud. No sign anybody had ever been inside my car at all. A waitress from the diner came outside after seeing me panicking. I told her what happened, and the second I described the family, her expression changed instantly. Then she quietly asked, "Did you pick them up near Black Hollow Road?" I said yes, and she went completely pale. Apparently, 8 years earlier during another storm, a family had crashed near those mountain roads and disappeared into the woods. The father, the mother, and their daughter. None of them were ever found, but drivers still reported seeing them during heavy rainstorms, always asking for a ride, always trying to leave the mountains before sunrise.